Welcome back everyone. When it comes to fighting games, everybody uses a different controller. Some people use a Guitar Hero controller, some people use a steering wheel to even win tournaments. But the most of us, we use a pad or a arcade stick. On the pad side, you have the amazing players like Punk, NuckleDu, Smug, Luffy, Problem X, and the rest of us, we use a arcade stick. So the question is, which one is better, pad or arcade stick? So I'm going to give you my opinions on it. First, I'm going to give you the daily life aspect of the pad versus joystick, and then I'm going to give you the technical aspect of this. Let's begin. First, let's talk about appearance, the impression. Usually in the photography industry, the bigger the camera is, the bigger the gears, the more gears you have, the more respect you're going to get. For example, let's say you're at an arcade, right? And this guy pulls out this big arcade stick from his bag. The crowd is most likely going to be like, wow, this guy brought an arcade stick with him. He's not playing around, you get that cool factor. But on the other hand, if you know what you're doing with your pad, the crowd can be like, wow, you can do that on a pad? That's crazy, So in this situation, they both get a point. Moving on, the price. So typically you can get a pretty good pad online for around $50 to $100. But on the other hand, for a joystick, you have the Quamadrones, you have the Mayflash, that's on the lower end, that's going to cost you around $50 to $60. And then on the higher end, you have the Huawei RAV4, you have the tournament sticks, you have the Razer Pandera, that's going to run you around $150 to $200. And then on the premium sticks, you have the Victrix Pro, you have the Quama Dragon, that's going to run you around $300 to $350. So for the arcade stick, it can be very pricey. Your PS4, you can get one for around $200 when it's on sale, and typically $300, and it comes with a controller. So a lot of players may not want to spend so much. Maybe the price that is almost the same as the whole console, or even more. So in this case, a point for the pad. Next, customization. When it comes to customization, your arcade stick welcomes you, it invites you to customize it. You can change the artwork, the ball top, the bat top. You can change the button shapes, the button styles, the button colors, and a lot more. So on the other hand, usually people don't customize the pads, and the parts are not as available as the arcade stick. So in terms of customization, I would say the point goes to the stick. Moving on, portability. Whether you're going to a tournament, you're going to your friend's house, you're going to school, a lot of people have gaming laptops these days. You have, in terms of a regular size school bag, right? If you just throw in your gaming laptop, you can easily just put in your pad, and then you can go to school or go to your friend's house, connect it with Bluetooth. It's very simple, very lightweight. But on the other hand, right, trying to fit a big and heavy and bulky arcade stick into your bag is not going to be easy. It may not even fit a regular size backpack. So in this situation, in terms of portability, I would say a point goes to the pad. The next point is traveling. If you're always on the go and going to different states, different countries, and you're always looking for local arcades to hang out and play some arcade games, 99% of the time they are going to be arcade sticks. So it's very hard you're going to find an arcade with pads in it. So in this case, I would say a point goes to the arcade stick. The next point is noise and sound. So most of us, we live with either our family or roommates. So if you're trying to game like late at night, on the pad, you're not going to really hear any noise, They're not even going to know you're playing games on your PS4 or your Xbox, right? But on the other hand, if you're trying to game really late at night, this can be very noisy. If you're trying to play some games at night, and then if they have like work the next days and things like that, it can get very annoying. Also, because the arcade stick makes so much sounds, sometimes when you're playing games next to your opponent, they can actually hear what you press. Basically, let's say if you're waking up with something, if you're trying to preparing for something while you're waking up, they can kind of hear it, and then they'll not go for the move, they'll just block. So that can be a problem on the arcade stick. So that's the point for the pad in terms of noise and sounds. Next is tiredness. Sometimes when you play a game all day, your fingers gets very tired, because you're just moving your fingers the whole day and you're just rubbing your fingers on the buttons and the directions all day. So it can get very tiring due to because you're only exercising the finger and there's a lot of friction going on. But on the other hand, on the arcade stick, you won't have that problem because you're basically just resting your arms and your wrists onto the pad. You're just pressing buttons. There's a lot more movement going on. So on the joystick, you can play it for a long amount of time, a long period of time, and you won't get tired that easily. So in this case, I would say a point goes to the arcade stick in terms of tiredness. So now that we're finished with the daily life aspect, now this is the fun part. Moving on to the technical aspect. Let me switch the camera around so I can show you a better angle. Okay, in terms of execution, basically what the forums are saying, social media, the statistics, the people are saying is that the pad offers better accuracy. It offers better precision because the way the directional paths are designed, it offers very precise and accurate executions. And what the people are saying for the arcade stick is it offers a very a freedom of motion. So certain things are a lot easier to do on an arcade stick. So that's a point for the arcade stick, and that's a point for the pad. For the arcade stick, certain commands on the directions, for example, like Zangief 360 and Zangief 720, and certain commands in King of Fighter where it goes back and forth and then into some 360 are much easier to do on an arcade stick. So that is another point for the arcade stick. But in terms of the pad, charge characters can be better on the pad because the range of your finger on the directions are shorter versus on the arcade stick. If you have to charge, right, and you have to go forward, this is a very long distance, right? Compare it to the pad, it's a much shorter distance. So in terms of charge characters, a pad sometimes can be more beneficial. For example, the top players in fighting games, you have Nakutu, Gaio, a charge character, pad player, right? You have Smug, Balrog player, charge character, pad player. And then you also have who else? Problemax. Problemax is also Bison, charge character, pad players, right? Do you see the pattern? So in that case, that's a point for the pad. Next, let's talk about combination of buttons. As we all know, it's a lot easier to press any combination of buttons on a stick because all the buttons are laid out on the panel. With fighting games getting more and more complicated these days, with a lot more combinations. In Street Fighter 5, you have your grab, you have your V skill, you have your V trigger, and then you have your V reversal. On top of that, you have characters like Urien, that the EX Fireball, this one, and then this one is all different moves. So it can get very tricky if you were to do that on a pad. In Dirt Strike, you have your grab, you have your overhead attack, you have your taunt, which some characters do have a useful taunt, and then you have characters with Kara grabs, you have your Kara palm from Yun, and then you have your Kara Raging Demons, etc. And then in King of Fighter, let me put these on. B, C, D. So in King of Fighter, you have 4 buttons. AB is roll, and then in BC in certain versions is assist, and then you have your CD, which is like a knockback attack, and then you have your ABC, which is a red super cancel mode, and then you have your BCD, which is activating your golden armor mode. On top of that, you have characters that have combos that require A and C, like Yashiro in King of Fighters 98, where your combo is basically C forward A and then basically do AC twice and then into a super not super. That's I think that's 2011. But basically, yeah, the combo is A and C. And then also one of my main is K9999, which his super is ABCD. He is in King of Fighter 2001, I believe. And in King of Fighter, you can choose 3 characters. You know, so how are you? So sometimes it can be very tricky to bind all those keys here. Let's say, for example, the stuff I show you in King of Fighters, where there's so many different combinations. And don't forget that in King of Fighters you have 3 characters. So you have to kind of remember that for the first character, this button may not be the same as the combination for the second character. So it can get very tricky. So the list goes on. But you get the point. But so in this situation, I find it hard and tricky for me personally. So I have to give the point to the arcade stick in this situation. So we're still talking about combinations and buttons, right? So on the other hand, there are characters like birdies, bullhorn, balrogs, turn punch that requires holding a button or multiple buttons. So in this case, depending on how you set up your buttons, for example with birdies, bullhorn, right? Basically you just hold any button, and as you release it, it does the bullhorn, right? So depending on how you set up your buttons, everybody sets it up differently. They have their own hotkeys and binding and stuff like that. So, you know, for a pad, if I'm just holding down on my left side, my right hand is still free to do any combos, do anything I like. It's still very comfortable. I have my full control of my right hand to do like light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, light kick, medium kick, and heavy kick. And as the round goes by and when the moment is right, you just simply release your left finger and you can do the bullhorn. You know, you still have the luxury of your full control of your right hand to, you know, to do anything you like. And as you know, and at the right time, you just release that finger. So it's very beneficial for characters that requires holding down buttons while still fighting in the match. Whereas on a joystick, you don't have that luxury, because for characters like these, if you're holding down a button, no matter how you hold it or whichever finger you hold it, you have lost a percentage of your mobility, your freedom. You don't have full control of your right hand. So if your opponent is just, you know, playing footsie back and forth and doing spacing very well, you're just kind of like, you're losing something, because you're just holding down a button but you're not going in, or there's no time to use that move. So in this case, it's very beneficial for a pad, you know, because you can just do anything on your right hand and just go up for the bullhorn. Similarly, like Balrog, your right hand still have full control. You can just jump in, do your regular combos, and as the time is right, you just let go of your left hand. You know, very beneficial for a pad. Similar games like in King of Fighter 99, you have characters like Jun. When you hold down a button, Jun gets in different stances that makes him very strong. He becomes like a totally different character in different stances, and you still have to move around while holding the buttons. In Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you have characters like Mega Man's Fireball, you have Jill's Charging Star, that you can charge your special moves while fighting at the same time. You know, in situations like these, I would say a pad has a slight advantage because you still have your full right hand to do all combos and whatever you need to do. So a point for the pad in this situation. Lastly, I want to talk about tricks and techniques. So if you're using a stick, there are a few tricks and techniques that you can do if you're using characters like Gen, Ihanda, Blanca, and Chun-Li, but not for Chun-Li's in Street Fighter V, because they changed his command for the lightning kick. But for example, if you want to use, let's say, Blanca's electric thunder, you basically have to press punch 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So some people just mash it. Some people use, you know, 2 fingers, you know. But if you want to use it properly for combos and pokes and things like that, you know, there are ways to do it properly that is more precise and accurate. So you can use kind of like what they call the piano technique. So that way it's always accurate. So you don't have to like mash it. So that way it might not work in some situations. Another way I like to do it is called the sliding technique, where you're just sliding your hand across, like that. It's very accurate, but the piano technique is a little bit more accurate. Things like that is gonna help on your characters like Blanca, Chun-Li, and Honda. And again, that requires rapid pressing of a certain button. So that's a point for the stick. But wait, pad players, we're missing a point. No worries, I got you. Let me show you a trick. So for gyro, right, for example, to do a sonic boom, you hold back and you go forward, right? Same like that. And then to do a flash kick, you hold down and you go, right? But look, the trick is on the analog stick, right? Analog stick, you can also move around. So if you hold back and then you press forward on the directions, look at this. You don't even have to go back. You see? And then if you hold down, and then if you press, look at that. Oh, I think I'm blocking you. Oh. So if you know how to take advantage of this technique, you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. So, we get a point too. So let me switch it on the fight stick. So in conclusion, at the end of the day, choosing a pad or a stick is not going to suddenly get us to like top 16 of EVO. I think the answer comes down to the game that you play, the character, and your play style. So if you put in the time you're gonna be great at either one. So if you put in a specific situation, I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. So I think it really comes down to personal preference. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe is always helpful for the channel. More videos coming soon, stay tuned. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.